My name is Joe de Vera. Um, yeah, so I'm an artist. And a little thing about my service. I was in the Marine Corps. I joined in 2001, a little bit before September 11, probably around June or July. I was in boot camp while September 11 happened. Um, I stayed in for a good, up until 2008. I was discharged. I served 2 combat deployments, and I was discharged as a sergeant. I immigrated here with my family. My family brought me here probably around when I was second grade from the Philippines to escape sort of a place with sort of geopolitical turmoil. It still is really conflict torn. And so these systems of adjustment and opportunity sort of also became of interest, and points of vulnerability in my artwork indirectly a lot of times intersect with my own sort of identity as a veteran and as someone of color. Art wasn't initially my first interest, although I did love it. I was originally a psychology major and a history major, and I enjoyed a lot of other sort of lines of study. And as sort of my collegiate career moved forward, I noticed I was spending a lot of time in art, mainly because of its autonomous nature. I was able to compress all these other things I was studying into one sort of my own subject matter. So that really led me into kind of opening up the art world. And at first, the subject matter wasn't directly tied to my experience in the Marine Corps or my experience of being an immigrant, but it sort of seeped in, just because you kind of in art you sort of make what you know and who you are, and it was sort of that my identity was inseparable, so it came out, and it was it's been sort of an exploration ever since. It's hard to say. I think a part of it is a very simple um, aspect of me trying to find out how I got here and how we got here. And at first it was really focusing on my interest in history and, again, autobiography, but I think it just as important, it became sort of a historiography, really trying to challenge what art can do, if it can inform or form a dialogue in regards to big things like war or tragedy or conflict. And so my art kind of I think just culminates from that, and there's no rhyme or reason. It comes together um, uh, almost as a query, but also um, uh, as something in search of a dialogue. I think for a lot of the young artists, kind of pursuing going to the kind of the grad school of your choice, my one thing to suggest to them is, well, I suggest many things, but to make sure that grad school is sort of in the same in line of what you want to do in your art. Research it in terms of um, what the art is coming out of there look like, with the faculty, what sort of their sort of worldview of the art worldview they have, because it's quite different. Getting your MFA at Yale is totally different from getting your MFA at LCAD, and they sort of have different philosophies. I think they should be in line with what you believe in the art world. I think the strange institutional neuroticism that happens in a highly competitive atmosphere, just pressurized, kind of reminded me of like hints of boot camp. It's not like boot camp, but the places conditionally sometimes where you're placed in psychologically is interesting. I saw parallels to it. It's hard to make young artists like talk about their work, and that's it's important because any sort of dialogue. You have to know how to talk about it, you know, to write about it. As working artists, fortunately or unfortunately, it's like, yeah, I hate having to promote. I hate having to kind of look at for these opportunities and fill in grants and stuff. And as a professional artist, especially when you're not, your name's not an institution, you can't hire, writers and grant writers to do it for you. A lot of your time is spent doing that as a professional. In some days after a project's done, 90% of it is doing that. COVID has really thrown a monkey wrench in a lot of events as artists, and really had kind of forced us to reevaluate um, what our practice means, what art means, in the world of post-COVID, and how we deal, uh, you know, art is a dialogue. What happens when that dialogue is muted? For me personally, yeah, it's affected. I had 2 solo shows that postponed. Um, I think we're looking at next year. So that's that's directly that's an effect. I've had residencies that we're trying to look at maybe November. The world opens up just a little bit, maybe. See if we can safely travel and do that. But really, I've been there's not a lot of public space for installation. So I've been sort of, again, reevaluating my practice to kind of scaling down, which I've always wanted to do anyway. I didn't want to be practicing works that were just sheerly relying on some sort of hinging on some monumental, scale to bring the language along. So really try to, make smaller works.